You wake up in the morning and the first thought that crosses your mind is not gratitude for another day, but the weight of having to face it all again. Your legs feel like lead. Your body rebels against the simple act of standing, and all you truly desire is to return to the safety of your bed, to the darkness where time stops existing and the world cannot demand anything from you. You know that feeling, don't you? That profound exhaustion that goes beyond physical tiredness, something that seems to come from the deepest part of your being, as if your very soul is saying no, as if it refuses to participate in this endless cycle of getting up, working, consuming, sleeping, and starting all over again. There are days when lying down is not a choice but a desperate need, not laziness but a silent scream from something inside you that feels trapped, suffocated, forgotten. What you're experiencing is not weakness, nor is it depression in the clinical sense, though it may feel like it. What you're living is the revolt of your soul against a world that has forgotten the sacred, against a life that has been reduced to mere biological survival and social performance. Your body wants to lie down because your spirit is trying to escape from a reality that offers no nourishment for what you truly are. This is not a modern pathology. It's the natural response of the human soul when it finds itself imprisoned in what the great scholar of religions Mircea Eliade called profane time, that linear mechanical time that drags us from obligation to obligation, without ever offering us a glimpse of eternity, without ever connecting us to something greater than our immediate concerns and basic needs. Eliade understood something that our contemporary world has forgotten completely. He saw that human beings are not merely biological machines programmed to produce and consume, but sacred beings who need contact with the transcendent to feel truly alive. When this contact is lost, when we live exclusively in what he called profane time and profane space, our souls begin to wither like plants deprived of sunlight. The desire to lie down, to withdraw from the world, to escape into sleep or isolation, is not a sign of failure, but a sign that something essential inside you recognizes that the life you are living is not the life your soul was designed for. Think for a moment about those rare occasions when you felt truly alive, when time seemed to stop and you experienced something that made you feel connected to something infinite. Perhaps it was while contemplating a sunset, listening to music that seemed to touch your very essence, in a moment of deep silence in nature, or during an intimate conversation where you felt truly seen and understood. In those moments, you were not living in profane time but in what Eliade called sacred time, that qualitative time that does not measure duration but depth, that does not count minutes but creates meaning. In sacred time, your soul does not want to escape because it has found its home. The tragedy of modern life is that we have organized our entire existence around profane time. We measure our worth by productivity, our success by accumulation, our happiness by external achievements that never satisfy the deep hunger of the soul. We wake up to alarms that violate our natural rhythms. We spend our days in artificial spaces under fluorescent lights. We relate to each other through screens and social media. We consume entertainment designed to distract us rather than nourish us. And we go to bed exhausted not from meaningful work but from the constant effort of trying to fit into a world that seems designed to ignore our deepest nature. Your soul wants to lie down because it is tired of pretending to be something it is not. It is tired of being treated as a mere accessory to your economic productivity. It is tired of living in spaces that have no connection to the sacred, of participating in relationships that touch only the surface, of engaging in activities that feed only the ego and never the spirit. When you feel that overwhelming desire to withdraw from the world, you are feeling the revolt of your authentic being against a life that has become completely superficial. But here is where Eliade's wisdom becomes not just diagnostic, but healing. He taught us that the sacred has not disappeared from the world. It has simply been camouflaged, hidden beneath layers of routine and distraction. The possibility of experiencing sacred time and sacred space still exists, but it requires a conscious effort to recognize it and cultivate it. You do not need to become a monk or abandon civilization to reconnect with the sacred dimension of existence. You need to learn to see with different eyes, to create small moments of sacred time in the midst of profane time, to recognize the hierophanies, the manifestations of the sacred that are always present but rarely perceived. You know what touches me most when I read your messages? It's realizing that we're not alone in this search. If you're listening to me now and feel that emptiness, that sensation that something important is missing in your life, I want you to know that I understand exactly what you're going through. There were moments when I also felt completely disconnected from the sacred, lost in the midst of a routine that seemed to suck all the magic out of existence. That's why I want to ask you a very direct question. What was the last moment you felt there was something greater than yourself present in your life? It could have been contemplating a sunset, listening to music, or simply in an instant of silence. If you feel comfortable, write in the comments, "I miss the sacred in my daily life," and briefly tell when that last moment was. Your story might be exactly what someone needs to read today to feel less alone in this journey. And I promise I'll read each comment with the care it deserves. The first step in reconnecting with the sacred is to understand that your soul's desire to escape is actually a call to return home, not to a physical place, but to a way of being that honors your deepest nature. When you feel that overwhelming tiredness, that desire to lie down and withdraw from the world, instead of judging yourself harshly, try to listen to what your soul is trying to tell you. Perhaps it is saying that you need to slow down, that you need to create space for silence, that you need to reconnect with nature, that you need authentic relationships, that you need activities that nourish your spirit rather than just your bank account. Eliade observed that in traditional societies, people lived in constant contact with the sacred through rituals, myths, and symbols that connected their daily experience to cosmic and eternal realities. They did not suffer from the spiritual exhaustion that characterizes modern life, because their existence had multiple dimensions, not just the horizontal dimension of productivity and consumption, but also the vertical dimension of transcendence and meaning. Every activity, from preparing food to celebrating seasons, was imbued with sacred significance that made life feel rich and purposeful, rather than empty and mechanical. You can begin to recreate this richness in your own life by identifying the moments and spaces where you feel most authentic, most connected to yourself and to something greater. These may be small moments: the first cup of coffee in the morning enjoyed in silence, a walk in nature without the distraction of podcasts or music, time spent in creative activities that flow naturally from your being, conversations where you can express your deepest thoughts without fear of judgment. These moments are not luxuries or indulgences. They are necessities for your spiritual health, and your soul's revolt is actually an attempt to guide you toward them. The desire to lie down can become a sacred practice if approached consciously. Instead of seeing rest as mere physical recovery, you can transform it into a spiritual discipline. Create a space in your home that feels sacred to you, even if it is just a corner with objects that inspire you or connect you to something meaningful. When you feel that overwhelming need to withdraw, go to this space consciously, not as an escape from life, but as a return to your center. Use this time to reconnect with yourself, to breathe deeply, to remember who you are beneath all the roles and responsibilities that society has imposed on you. Eliade taught that the sacred manifests itself through symbols, and that these symbols have the power to transform our consciousness if we learn to perceive them. The exhaustion you feel is itself a symbol, a message from your deepest being that you are living disconnected from your true nature. But there are other symbols around you constantly. The cycle of seasons that reminds you of the eternal rhythm of death and rebirth, the stars that connect you to cosmic infinity, the faces of people you love that reflect the mystery of existence, the beauty that appears unexpectedly in art, music, or nature, and touches something ineffable inside you. The path to healing spiritual exhaustion is not found in more caffeine, more entertainment, or more external stimulation. It is found in the gradual cultivation of a different relationship with time and space, a relationship that honors both your humanity and your divinity. This requires courage, because it means going against the current of a culture that wants to keep you trapped in profane time, constantly producing and consuming, never having time to ask the deep questions or experience the profound realities that make life worth living. You can begin today by creating small rituals that connect you to sacred time. It may be as simple as lighting a candle before starting your work and dedicating a moment to set an intention that goes beyond mere productivity. It may be taking 5 minutes to watch the sky and remember that you are part of something infinite. It may be preparing a meal with conscious attention, transforming the act of nourishing your body into an act of gratitude and connection to the earth that feeds you. These small practices may seem insignificant, but they have the power to gradually transform your experience of daily life, from empty routine to meaningful existence. Eliade understood that human beings have an innate nostalgia for paradise, for that original state of harmony and connection that myths from all cultures try to describe and recover. This nostalgia is not a weakness, but a compass that points toward what you are truly seeking. When your soul wants to escape from current reality, it is not necessarily running away from responsibility, but seeking to return to that state of being where you feel complete, where you are not fragmented between who you are and who you think you should be, where your existence feels integrated and meaningful. The great gift of Eliade's work is showing us that this return to paradise is not just a utopian fantasy, but a real possibility available in every moment when we learn to recognize and cultivate the sacred dimension of existence. You do not need to wait for perfect conditions or dramatic changes in your life. You can begin right now, right where you are, to create small openings for the sacred to enter your daily experience. Your soul's desire to lie down is not a defeat but a preparation, not an escape but a return to what is most essential in you. If this message resonates with something deep inside you, I want you to know that you are not alone in this feeling of spiritual exhaustion and longing for something more authentic. If you recognize yourself in these words, please show your support by giving a like to this video. Your simple gesture helps this message reach more people who may be feeling lost and needing to remember that their spiritual needs are valid and important. The healing of spiritual exhaustion is not achieved through willpower or positive thinking, but through the gradual recognition that you are a sacred being living in a world that has forgotten the sacred, and that you have the power to recreate that connection in your own life. Every time you choose depth over superficiality, quality over quantity, being over doing, you are participating in the restoration of the sacred in the world. Every time you honor your need for silence, beauty, authentic connection, and meaning, you are not being selfish but being responsible for your own spiritual health and, by extension, contributing to the spiritual health of the collective. Your soul does not want to escape from life itself, but from a life that has been reduced to its most superficial aspects. It wants to return to a way of living where every day contains moments of transcendence, where you feel connected not only to your immediate obligations but to the cosmic rhythms and eternal realities that give existence its deepest meaning. This is not a romantic fantasy, but the natural state of human beings when they live in harmony with their complete nature. The transformation begins when you stop seeing your spiritual needs as optional luxuries and start recognizing them as essential requirements for your well-being. Just as your body needs food, water, and air to survive, your soul needs beauty, meaning, transcendence, and authentic connection to thrive. The modern world will try to convince you that these needs are not real or important, that you should be satisfied with material security and social success. But your soul knows better, and its revolt is actually a form of wisdom that is trying to guide you toward a richer, more complete way of living. Eliade showed us that time is not just linear and quantitative but can also be circular and qualitative, that space is not just geometric but can also be sacred, that existence is not just biological but also mythical and symbolic. When you begin to live with awareness of these dimensions, when you create room in your life for experiences that connect you to something greater than your immediate concerns, you discover that your desire to withdraw from the world transforms into a desire to engage with the world from a deeper place. You can start this transformation today by choosing one small practice that honors the sacred dimension of your existence. It may be dedicating the first few minutes of your morning to silence and gratitude, taking a conscious walk where you pay attention to the beauty around you rather than being lost in worries, or creating a small ritual before meals where you acknowledge the connection between your nourishment and the generosity of the earth. These practices may seem simple, but they have the power to gradually change your relationship with time, space, and existence itself. Your soul's desire to lie down is not a problem to be solved, but a message to be understood. It is telling you that you need more than what the superficial world offers, that you have depths that need to be honored, that you are capable of experiences much richer and more meaningful than those that occupy most of your daily life. Listen to this message with compassion for yourself. Your spiritual exhaustion is not a personal failure, but the natural response of a sacred being trying to survive in a desacralized world. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you recognizes that there's a different path, a deeper way to understand your own spiritual journey. I know what it's like to feel lost amid so much noise of the modern world, seeking answers that always seem to slip through your fingers. That's why I created this space, this refuge where we can explore together the ancient wisdom that still pulses alive in our hearts. When you subscribe to this channel, you're not just clicking a button, you're joining a community of people who, like you, feel that life has deeper layers waiting to be discovered. Here you'll find not just knowledge, but genuine embrace for your thirst for meaning. Subscribe now and be part of this journey of rediscovering the sacred in everyday life. Your soul deserves this gift. The path forward is not about forcing yourself to feel better, or trying to eliminate the desire to withdraw from the world through willpower. The path is about gradually creating a life that honors both your human responsibilities and your spiritual needs. A life where you do not have to choose between being productive and being authentic, between participating in society and maintaining connection to the sacred. This balance is possible, but it requires conscious intention and daily practice. Remember that your spiritual exhaustion is also a form of spiritual intelligence. It is your deepest being's way of saying no to a way of life that does not nourish your complete nature and yes to the possibility of a richer, more meaningful existence. Honor this intelligence. Listen to your soul's call for something deeper, and begin, step by step, to create the conditions for a life where you feel truly alive, where your days contain not just tasks to be completed, but experiences to be savored, where you are not just surviving but flourishing in all dimensions of your being. Share this message with someone who might need to hear it today. Sometimes the greatest gift we can offer another person is the reminder that their deepest feelings and needs are valid, that their longing for something more authentic is not a weakness but a strength, that their soul's revolt against superficiality is actually a sign of spiritual health. Together, we can create a community of people who support each other in the journey toward a more sacred and meaningful way of living.